what you see, like a battery. I'm staying charged on my feet, I'm like a factory. Dropping lines like an assembly.
How you doing, guys? Welcome to ZukaTube. I'm your host, Joe Matissa.
And I'm your co-host, Tessa.
And today, we're going to be reviewing a movie called The Cursed, or The Cursed, or however you want to, say it. But this movie just came out February 18th of 2022. And I'm going to read you the summary, then we're going to play the trailer, then we'll go into our little, semi-breakdown and review. I got a clip to play. I don't have many clips of this movie. I couldn't find a lot of, just huge, watched by a bunch of people videos on YouTube without me, being flagged for, kind of screen capping and recording that way. Yeah. So but I do have one good clip that they did have on YouTube for that I'll play. And now, for the summary here, it's in 19th century France, right? That's where this takes place. A man arrives in a remote country village to investigate an attack by a wild animal. However, he soon discovers a much deeper and sinister force that has the manor and the townspeople in its grip. So basically, that's a real simple kind of explanation. And I'll play the trailer, see if the trailer kind of gives you a better idea of what they're talking about. Because this is not too much of a thriller. It's like a full-blown horror film. It's pretty epic. There's a lot of action in it and stuff like that. Well, not action, but
I would say it's a thriller.
You would say it's a thriller?
Yeah, because there is a lot of action, but there are also a lot of parts where it's on the edge of your seat.
Okay, so maybe I would say horror thriller then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's classified
Whatever.
as.
Either way. Let's watch this trailer here.
We've all dreamt of silver that's cursed this land.
What you know about curses? There's some sweet dentures.
What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?
They make scarecrows. Oh. Ooh, weird scarecrows. Reminds me of the Jeepers Creepers.
That's exactly what I thought when I watched it.
Yeah.
There's a manor house. They've sent for me regarding their son who's gone missing. It may be connected to what you've been looking for.
Hey-o.
Did the girls see what attacked them?
Outright chilling. You can see they got a lot of search parties. People start getting attacked. The dentures are clearly a prized possession. Tea. They obviously like to make some tea. That's always spooky. Creepy roots growing on people. That's interesting.
Explained that. Maybe the roots are this.
Dun dun. It's about to be spooky. You see, it's real quiet. He's sneaking around. He's got his candles. Oh man, he's about to blow out his candles. Bam. So, that's the trailer. Now, this movie starts out where it's one of those they show you something that's happening in present day and then it jumps back 35 years, right? And the whole movie takes place basically 35 years in the past from what they show you in the beginning, right? And in the beginning, there's a war scene and troops getting seriously injured. A bunch are getting killed and they're taking bullets out of a guy and one of the bullets is fragmented and they go to pull out something and they find a very large silver bullet in the guy. And then it jumps 35 years prior to a family preparing food in a large home, shows a small village of people out in the woods, somewhat nearby. And they're basically a village full of gypsies, a small temporary kind of thing with tents and all that kind of deal. And they show a guy basically making a gnarly set of like metal teeth for a lady to use for a ritual of some kind. And then you see the people of the community back outside of the woods are kind of having an issue, I guess, with the gypsies on this land. So basically they go and they confront them about leaving the land, and the gypsies say they have a claim to the land, and they basically put a curse on them. And that's what sparks up the everything that you see in this whole trailer with, you know, them being hunted and spooky stuff happening and kind of haunty stuff and the whole nine. What do you kind of think of this whole introduction here and the gypsies and the kind of curse aspect of this movie that they're trying to kind of portray here? Because they kind of lay it out like that, and at first you think, I don't know, I feel like you think maybe it's not going to be a curse as much as also just maybe people are just going to start getting murdered by people or something.
No, definitely. When gypsies are involved, if they are ever wronged, there is always a curse involved.
You think so?
Always. Always.
Okay, so that's apparently how gypsies are. I can roll with that. I've seen Borat, so like I agree. You know, there's a lot of.
It's just like the witches nowadays. Well, there are some who like don't, you know, believe in doing evil upon others, but
they're fake. They don't count. They don't count like actual ones. You know, like legit.
I'm just
hocus pocus and stuff.
I'm just using it as a. Go on. Go on.
Okay, so basically, you see a bunch of kids getting together, and they're having these like haunting dreams because after this conflict happens where they go and see these gypsies, basically they end up harming a lot of them, killing a bunch of them, the whole deal, and they bury this old lady alive, you see in the trailer, and she curses them. And then the other guy, they string up as a human scarecrow, which is the scarecrow you see that's kind of like with the head spinny action that I said reminds you of Jeepers Creepers. Yeah, that whole deal. And the kids, they're all having these dreams, and they decide they're going to talk about it, and they decide they're going to go to this scarecrow. And one of the kids digs up the teeth that are buried underneath, and it like totally possesses him. He gets the teeth put in his mouth. He freaks out. He bites the shit out of one of the kids. Everybody goes running. They're trying not to tell anybody what happened, but the kid's getting real sick after he gets bit, and then weird shit starts happening, and everything goes haywire from there for the rest of the movie.
That's why I don't like kids. They never listen.
Yeah, well, I mean, neither do the adults in this movie. They do some dumbass shit.
I mean, I can't say anything. I never listen either. However, that's a different story. I am responsible for my own actions. I can't be responsible for somebody else who's like 3 times as young as me. I don't want to go to jail. Jail.
I don't want to go there.
Don't.
But, okay, so basically what happens is everybody's pretty much having these nightmares. They're getting toyed with. Everybody's having like almost hallucinations. They're being hunted by something, some kind of beast or maybe a person or something. And I don't want to give away too much right away because I feel like if I tell you a couple key things that happen at the beginning here, it'll give you too much of a clue. But I have one good clip to play, and that has to be, I feel like, for the spoilers because it's pretty epic. And it's a little gory and stuff and gnarly, so I'm excited to get into it. But it's really cool, this movie, because it's that like old-timey kind of deal. You know, again, it's 19th century France, and the beginning clip is like a full-blown war, which looks like maybe it could be like World War I or something, and then it flashes back 35 years prior or whatever. And it's cool to see basically everybody, when something happens, they kind of have to meet with the elders in the community, figure out like search parties and stuff like that. They have to go and like travel out far on their own land to find things, like to even encounter these gypsies. Like they had to go out with a crew on horses and like go for a ride and be like, yo, I don't know, 50 acres out, yo, I think I got some gypsies out there on my land. Like crazy to watch all that stuff. I always dig that. I always dig watching all that old-timey stuff and how they do everything and how they would handle something potentially. You know, little kids like playing deep out in the woods, like that's awesome. Gnarly ass kids, but then stupid ass kids at the same time. Because people do dumbass shit when they know they're being hunted. For some reason, they're like, oh, whatever. I'm just going to still go out and do my laundry by myself on a really misty night. Like, what? I mean, it makes for a good horror movie, but are you kidding me?
Yeah, I would never. I am the most afraid person you will ever meet in your life. I am not afraid of anything, but I'm afraid of everything at the same time. I would never be caught dead going outside by myself in a thick ass fog where I can't see shit in front of me. Never gonna happen. That's how you die.
Especially while there's like a beast on the loose and everybody.
Exactly. That is the part that I don't get. Like, you've seen this thing rip these people apart. You've seen the remains. Why on earth would you be like, oh, it's safe to go outside and pin my laundry up? You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. That stuff is pretty gnarly. And you can see this whole dilemma of people who think they're doing things for their family, but that's also harming other families and stuff. That's kind of an underlying factor in this movie. Part of why the curse even exists in the first place is because certain people thought they were doing certain things that maybe would have been just good overall for the progress of their community or their family, but then also harmed others, and people get pissed and do some crazy gypsy magic on you. That's what they do. So depending on, you know, if you got a neighbor that you don't know sleeping out in your yard, you got to be careful you don't work some gypsy magic on you if you try to kick them out. I mean, not that I would ever advocate to keep somebody in your yard if they're sleeping in your yard, but they don't know. You say these gypsies, they say they claimed the land beforehand. Who knows? Somebody, if you got land that's like 100 acres and like a pair of gypsies just make some tents 20, 30 acres deep in there, do you really ever find out? I don't know. So like, who really is the person who claimed the land first? Do you know? That's like a dilemma I was thinking about this whole time.
Well, I mean, if you cared that much, I feel like you would be, you know, manning your property or hiring the proper, you know, people to do so.
Yeah, you would probably need a big squad to comb that much land for sure.
Yeah. Well,
now,
I mean,
before we get into any deep spoilers or anything like that, I want to give you my review and see what you think of this movie. I would give this a solid like 7.5 out of 10. I think it's like an average to good horror movie. It's pretty like epically gory at times, but then at the same time they hold back on certain elements of gore when they feel like they need to keep you in suspense. The characters, everybody does a good job. Like you see a lot of tension between certain characters, and they do bring there's a character that's hired a pathologist later on to come and investigate and help them throughout this, and to see kind of what's happening with him and how other people get brought into this nightmare that they're dealing with, and also start to maybe have dreams all connected to each other and things like that. I like it. I like the way they did a lot of that. Overall, I would say that like certain things never get explained that kind of were bothering me. Like we'll talk about, there's these like kind of roots that we mentioned in the trailer. Like that's a little weird, and like they don't really mention like too much.
I have a theory of what it may be, but it really still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, basically like the whole thing that they're kind of trying to just tell you is like, well, you know, gypsies, it's got to be just a bad curse. Like they don't give you a whole lot of details into that as much as they give you like character development and stuff like that for the people that are within the manor and stuff. But with that being said, it's still a good movie. I really enjoyed it all throughout. And what would you give it?
I would still say 7.5 as well.
What?
Yeah,
you mean
that's
to
2
say
for
we
2.
2 for 2 over here? We got some matching scores lately. A 7.5. Now, what did you like or dislike that may be different than me?
Well, as far I didn't like the main guy, dude's dad.
Oh,
Seamus, I think his name is.
you're talking about the rich guy that owns the manor?
Yeah, I didn't like him. I just didn't. I mean, I liked what happened in the end, how he dealt with that situation, but I think everything leading up to it, I think if he had made certain decisions just slightly different, he could have avoided the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do kind of show his almost like the cowardice aspect of certain characters.
That's exactly what I was looking for, a coward.
Yeah,
he
you
was
see,
definitely a coward.
you see certain people that kind of roll with things just because they feel like that's what they should do, and then at certain times when things get a little heavy, they're like, "Oh, let me just like dip over to the side for a second."
Yeah, and I'm
my
pretty
bad.
sure,
Like I'm not involved in that. Well, kind of am, you know.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in like the beginning of the movie, he was like trying to be like stereotypical male, like alpha male. I don't know how else to describe it, but he was definitely like trying to be like head of household male, like how they used to,
Yeah.
how the nuclear household used to be, with like the male being like.
Well, that's like an extreme version of it,
But that's what
because of the past, for sure.
Well, yeah.
And they have like maids and all kind of stuff. It's like totally.
But that's what I'm saying. But finishing off my thought from that, like he tries to portray that, but like you can see all of his decisions leading up to when his like character progression finally climaxes. It's like it was complete opposite of what he was trying to be.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, so I definitely can agree with that quite a bit. And there's a couple characters that I feel like they have a lot of development, but I don't want to get too much into it because that'll be more like we could pass it a little bit in spoilers. But if you're into movies overall that really go deep into quite a few of the characters, that's something to look forward to. But at the same time, certain characters do get left out, or certain aspects of the story get left out, to make sure that they gave all that extra time to the characters they wanted you to know about. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the spoilers section. Spoilers. Oh, spoilers. Boop. Yeah, so you killed it. Maybe next time you'll just take over for the whole spoilers section.
Never, no.
What?
Well, okay, let me not say never, but because like you never know with me, but
it's gonna happen.
all right,
Everybody can start
all
rooting
right.
for it in the future. That's
Calm
what
your
they'll do.
jets.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to spoil here in this section is that basically what happens is when they got cursed and the kid got bit by the dentures, he then became like a crazy demon little thing that was preying on everybody. And every time somebody gets bit and doesn't die, they become one as well. And at one point, they basically kill one of these things and capture it and bring it in. And it's really cool. They do like a kind of almost mini autopsy real quick. And it's real interesting to see what they look like and kind of what they're made out of, in a sense, right? I'm going to play this clip.
That noise.
What?
Can you not hear the squishy noise?
Oh, he's just mixing Jell-O.
Definitely looks like Jello when he flops it over.
Yeah, they cut the thing open, and there's a whole like sack in there, and straight up, it's a person.
It's a Marie. Don't touch it. She's gone. They never come back the same.
That guy, he's the pathologist, the guy that cuts it open, because he's dealt with these things before.
It's the kindest thing we
You
can do for
find
her
out
now,
that
Saul.
like he's already dealt with this, and like it took his family and everything.
Saul.
Yeah, so that's pretty gnarly stuff that happens right there. And that's the one thing also that you can't explain is like you don't really know too much about what exactly those beasts are and like if there are any other types of beasts in relation to it, or like how that happens. But like you see these like tree root type things happening and grabbing them and stuff, and then I guess that encases them into makes them into a cocoon, which then they then get the monster to form out around them.
That's my theory. That's what my theory was, because when you see it in the beginning, it like starts wrapping around his body like roots do, and those weird creep, like in Harry Potter. If anybody's ever seen that, hopefully everybody's seen that, because for some reason you haven't. Like it wraps around him like tree root, and then the way they did the autopsy, I was like, that's got to be the only connection for those roots, because other than that, I really don't understand where those would come in at.
Yeah, and they don't really give you enough detail about like the gypsy magic and all that stuff for you to get a real good grip on that. But basically at the end, there's a whole situation where a bunch of them are trapped in the church, and the mother kind of gets persuaded to open the door by the voices in her head brought on by these demons, and the thing comes in and slaughters a bunch of them, and finally they take it down with a silver bullet, and you realize that the silver bullet stops the curse because they melted down the teeth to make the silver bullets, and the metal is supposed to be the silver given to Judas. That's the whole theory behind it, that's what gives it its dark power, I guess. And when the thing gets shot, it turns back to its original form, which is the child that disappears early on that gets bitten. And basically that's your kind of reminder of what happened in the beginning of the film, where there's a guy that was at war and he takes some bullets, they take the bullets out, and then they find that silver bullet in them. But that's all they give you for that time. Like, they just did that for no reason. Like, really, they could have thrown that whole entire thing out about like a random war that people were fighting, because there was no reason to ever even bring it up. All they said was like, oh yeah, that guy, that was him. So he like became an adult, which at the end of the movie, he survives. So obviously he becomes an adult. Really? What am I like just supposed to like be happy knowing he didn't die 4 years later in an accident? Like that I thought was kind of silly. But but that's what they do at the end. With the whole scene at the end is cool, but then after that, when they kind of give you that whole reference, you're like, dude, I don't care. But what did you think of that whole ending and how they did that?
I think it was definitely stupid. I found myself being like, what the crap? But apart from the ending, another thing that got me was the pathologist. So this entire time, he's researching gypsy stuff, like researching the curse, researching like all of the stuff. The only time that like his pathology comes into play is when he's comparing the blood between the blood he finds on the door and his blood. That's literally the only time you ever see him do anything with pathology. All of those, he's basically just a detective.
Yeah. It's just a random guy they bring in to help basically at that time. That's knowledgeable about a couple other things. That's what you could say about him. Yeah, conveniently, he does other things. Oh, well, our town is only filled with a few things that we know. And it's good to know that you also know a few things, and those happen to not be on our list of things that we know.
And now we can all put them together, group them together, and work as a team.
Yeah, it's like, because we also made a list on the side, and these are the things we want to know. And you happen to fall on number 12, 27, and 4.
12, 27, and 4.
Yeah, so very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, again, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. And you agree as well, so it's a 2 for 2 on the review there. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, I'm Joe Matissa.
I'm Tessa.
And we're out of here. We're getting out of this. We're blowing this popsicle stand. Peace.
Feel like they tracking me. Yo, let me get on one. Nah, go get your tracks up. Homie, can I steal some? Homie, you can't stack up. My brother, can you shout me? You're barking up the wrong tree. My dog, why do you doubt me? Cause you can't do shit without me.
Real like the radio and never play it, but that's cool. The enemy's supposed to hate it.